a warm welcome back to the Forensics Detailing channel. I figured I'd get the Unplugged channel even going again. It's very hard doing two channels, guys. Oh, it's hard enough doing one. Getting two going is a nightmare. But we're going to do like a mop-up or a follow-up video on some of our main content. So the other day we did a video reviewing this. So I want to just go through some of the dramas in this video. But I'm looking forward to looking at these two products from Pan the Organiser, the ceramic spray seal and the spray polish. Because I think... I haven't done my full market research, but I think that's 30 quid. And that, I don't know what it is, but it's in the 20s. So they're not so unreasonably priced and off market. So I'm excited to see how they perform, because if they do, they could be viable products. And that was the biggest problem. Whoa, good catch, John. It was the biggest problem with clean shampoo. In the review we did, the biggest number one factor is that the cost per wash of it is down here. Clean by Pan, £2.36, whereas the winning shampoo in my best shampoo gives you a cost per wash of 16p with the same. That's not a bulk price, that's a small 500ml, should be 10.50, but it's still about 16p if you do the maths. It might be a tiny bit more than 16p, I don't know, 16.5p or something, I don't know. But it's 15 times the price, roughly, when you get down to £2.36. And I think the product needs to be swinging around here, battling with these brands, battling with Chemical Guys, Geon, Koch, Auto Glim, etc. Needs to be in the mix. I mentioned that gets stick for being really expensive. It's their top of the line one. They do have trade ones and all that, but that's their top one. And that's £1.17, and people moan that's too expensive. And that's twice the price, as I talked about in the review. So my summary is I don't think the product is competitive price-wise for what is essentially a shampoo, which is a relatively simple, established detailing, fundamental kind of product. So that's the main thing. There was no rebuttal on any of this information. No one said, yes, no, you're wrong, this is good value. A couple of people said, well, the bulk price in the US is better. So if you get 3.78 litres or a US gallon, that cost per wash goes down. If you get 5 litres of that, that price goes to 5p. 5p, based on that being £33 for 5 litres. 5p a wash. I think in America, someone said you can get that down to like $1 or something. So it's still, I worked out, about 17 times the price at bulk. So it's not competitive at bulk or retail size offering. And yeah, I think that's just, the price is the price. Some other things that are really interesting, the foaming level, that become a thing, because in the video, when we put it in the foam cannon and used an ounce and showed you the results, it didn't produce good foam, in my opinion. 2 ounces, it started going whiter and started to thicken up a tiny bit, but it wasn't super thick foam. It's still really runny. Notice in the wash bucket, 2 ounces with 4 gallons. So it tells you the amount of water, whereas in the foam, it doesn't mention the amount of water. Now, someone put this in the comments. These are why these videos are useful. Someone put in the comments that in Pan's video, they did 2 ounces mixed in with 500ml of water, which is going to give you much thicker foam than what it's telling you to use on the label. And this ties in as well what someone else said about PIR and stuff like that, and why other brands will give you a PIR, because it just eliminates all that. I know it's a bit of complexity, but the opposite of complexity and PIR is ambiguity and mistakes and poor results, I think. I think it's an interesting discussion, isn't it? Because there's perks of keeping it simple for the layman's, but yeah. So other people are saying, well, I've seen videos of this and it's a lot thicker than this. And then I've gone and watched those videos, and in those videos, they're not using always 30 millilitres, 1 ounce to 970 ml of water. It varies in some of the videos. There might be some that are, but there's some that aren't, and they're using like 600. So it's just like the amount of concentration variations in all of the video reviews of it out there are different as well. So it's interesting, isn't it? Yeah, and sometimes it's a lot thicker in those videos than it was for me. Now, in the comments, hard water was something that was said a few times. John, do you have hard water? Yeah, I think the water in the UK is pretty hard. It is hard water here down in Sussex, but it's not that bad here. I don't ever use a water filter. I don't typically have water spot problems, and I rinse the car off. But there is hard water here, you know. So softer water would get more foaming. That's a valid thing, but it's been like that for since I've lived here, you know. The other thing was that the lance is blocked up and it needs to be, you know, cleaned or maintained. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It makes thick foam if I put a bit more in. Yes, I don't think there's anything wrong with that lance. What was the other thing? Oh, the pressure washer's not good enough. It's got quite a lot of grunt, that little pressure washer. So yeah, but you know, you could get a bigger pressure washer and more pressure and increase the amount of foam. So that could account for it. But I think it's a good system. It's a good kind of run-of-the-mill system with above average kind of grunt and the most foam-producing lance on the market. But you could improve it, couldn't you? So there is that. And someone said, yes, I need to increase the orifice size down to 1.1, which I'm not going to do because I don't want to backload the pressure washer when I don't need to. The thickness of the foam isn't that important to me. The chemical still gets deployed. If it doesn't whip up the foam so much, it doesn't really matter. That chemical still soaks into the dirt and does its thing. Yeah, so we did get some poor results in terms of the observable foam didn't match the description of how it was. We didn't get super thick foam really, did we, in my opinion? And I've seen examples where it has been super thick, and I'm sure it can be super thick if you use more, as we've discussed. So that's all the belt and braces stuff for this shampoo. There's nothing wrong with this shampoo. It's not low quality. It just doesn't foam up if you use 30ml to 90ml in my system, and perhaps most people's systems in the UK. You would need to get up to about 3 or 4. You need to basically double it, which is exactly the same findings that we had with the Incredible Suds. If you double the amount that you use in a foam cannon, you'll get reasonable foam, good foam in fact. So let's move on. There was lots of positives in that video as well. That it, as a contact bucket wash shampoo, absolutely fine. So if they can get the price down, get it to foam a bit more. Some people said, John, it's not a pre-wash as such. Yes, I agreed. When I watch it back, I felt the same thing. I thought, I'm watching this. I've said we'll test it as a pre-wash there, and it's not. So I put a little sticky comment as well before I published the video because I thought that was fair. Yeah, it's a product you could use in a snow foam lance, and you could pre-wash with it and put it on your car, but it's not claiming to be a powerful pre-wash that's going to remove all the road film from your car. So that's a completely fair point. But we didn't identify it as that. We just kind of tested it as a pre-wash as well as a contact wash. But yeah, fair play. What was the other thing? The other thing I find really interesting is that the comments section on this were just, there is no middle ground here. There's either haters or lovers. And we're using extreme language. Yes, not all the haters are haters. They just might feel that the product's not for them, and there's no hate. They just say, yeah, it's not for me, it's too expensive or whatever. And all the lovers are not starry-eyed that will just go and buy every single product of Pans. It's more in between. I'm sure there's people that have bought this and had good experience of it and like the product as well, which is fine, yeah. Yeah, for me, a lot of times with detailing products, price can be a really important factor, because I hear all the time from the industry. I've heard it for 10 years. I've had this, or, you know, our products are expensive because we're premium and we use premium materials. That doesn't wash with me. Because I know very few companies out there that I ever talk about will go out their way to use cheap materials. You know, they're more functional than that. They'll use whatever's kind of best, unless it's like liquid gold, which doesn't really exist from a chemical point of view unless you're using limonene. Anyway, let's not get sidetracked. So yeah, I just felt, yeah, for me, price is the important thing. But I also, I think a really interesting discussion point is the whole thing that I was talking to with Jimbo from Auto Detailing Podcast. We did a podcast together, and it's really good to chat about all this stuff because Jimbo is a content creator as well as now a brand. So he's crossed that divide from being a YouTube content creator talking about detailing products and stuff to being a brand, being in the firing line. And it's not easy to go from one to the other because you're going to have like bullets flying at you, and every now and then a bullet's going to just hit you square on in the head. It goes, one will catch you. You know, you can jump between the trenches, but every now and then a flying bullet, right in the head, like when you're paintballing. And it's going to be the same for Pan. You're going to catch bullets. I think Pan's going to probably end up catching more bullets because there seems to be a level of almost kind of resentment out there to the fact that he is now a brand as well as an influencer, which is something we got chatting about. Like, the brands want to be influencers and the influencers want to be brands, and I find that discussion very interesting, and it's something I could talk about for hours. Historically, yeah. The thing with being an influencer is after years of doing it, you kind of get bored, and you're spending your life primarily making brands lots of money. And so, at some point a light bulb goes off and you think, hang on a second, I've worked to build this influence up for the 10 years. I've done all this reviewing stuff, and now I want to start a business and make some money. And I think, good luck to anyone that feels like that. 10 years is a long time of doing YouTube, isn't it? So I think after you've been doing it that long, why not? The thing that is the grey area for me is the whole reviewer becoming a brand and still reviewing. That's the thing that I can't do. And I've talked about that in the comments when someone says, John, is there a forensics detailing brand coming? No, there isn't. It's not coming. It's not going to come. I've played around with making chemicals because I have an interest in it. For a couple of years on the channel, we had the interest in wax making. Really interesting story with the wax making. I can't remember if we talked about this, but I created the wax making stuff, videos 10 years ago or whatever, how to make a car wax, and just dumped my guts or spilled my brains, one or the other. Don't get muddled up, it could be messy. I put all that information there I showed you exactly what I was doing, going from an idiot that knew nothing about how to make waxes to trying, brewing waxes and showing you exactly what recipe we used, the exact process, what equipment I was using. And you followed me on that kind of journey of getting better and buying better equipment and making better waxes. In the background to that, I had a Facebook group where there was about less than 100 people, where it was a forensics wax making or something. Don't think it still exists. Might do. Don't think it does. And we were getting people join that group, and some of those guys would join the wax making group, and they would get into the waxes, go and buy all the equipment, start making it, and then they would ask me questions, and I'd share knowledge with them, and they would become friends, and they'd tell me things they were doing. It was all about ingredients mainly, and techniques and stuff, and clever stuff, and you'd improve because you'd share knowledge. But then you'd get other guys that would join, and they would join, and then within 2 weeks you'd get a message from them saying, I've made a wax, and some would want to send it to you to test, and other ones were like putting in the group, I have made my wax, my first wax, it's available for sale, PayPal me here. I've only got 20 pots and they're £50 a pot. And you get guys that were just in it instantly. They didn't share any information. They'd be up and running, trying to sell the waxes within 2 weeks. And it was like, yeah, that's not really what it was for, And none of those guys that did that are still selling those waxes. But it was like some came in, just took the latest recipe, went and bought the equipment, made that wax, maybe tweaked it slightly, and then within a week were selling waxes just to make money. So I learned very early on, 10 years ago, that part of human nature are the guys that are interested in stuff, and then the guys that go straight for the money. So that ties back in that I don't think you can say after 10 years of doing YouTube that Pan or any of those guys are in a position where they shouldn't roll the dice and have a go. They've earned the right, and I think, you know, good luck to them. Good luck to them. But yes, the brands wanting to be influencers, the influencers wanting to be brands is a real dangerous area. Brands typically struggle to gain influence because they're so focused on selling you products that they can't, people spot it and they just don't, they're not interested in following companies and stuff. But brands are getting smarter and looking at what influencers are doing and how they get, what's popular, what videos are popular. And these are the videos that influencers or content creators have discovered by random luck and having an interest in detailing over the last 10 years and doing all this content and failing and that one works and that one works. Brands are getting clever now, and they just go through and look at what's been popular over the last 10 years and will just latch onto that popular content and chuck it out there, and then that will grow you a following. So brands are learning from influencers, you know, what they've done that's popular and rehashing it. Influencers are looking at brands and thinking, oh, like, well, what are they doing to make money? How are they getting these product ranges up? Figuring it out and then going and doing what the brands are doing. The problem is those two entities needed to be separate, I think. And when they're the same entity, when you're a brand and an influencer, or an influencer and a brand, it's a dangerous combination, potentially. That's an interesting subject. And it's a subject which is difficult to discuss because there's a lot of hatred flying around about it. I find it interesting, but I don't get wound up. Some of you guys get wound up. Not wound up, but there's some venom in some of the comments. Yeah, and there doesn't need to be. So hopefully this video could be a more balanced, interesting conversation. And hopefully, when I go and look at these products, there's some good things to talk about. And it's not just talking about, you know, being 15 times off the market price. Yeah, so that's got to go. I've got to give that away because I've done a little swap there with Danny Boy. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the Unplugged channel. I will keep doing these videos where perhaps we delve into the comments section of the main channel and talk about the aftermath of the videos as a quick kind of thing, because it might be interesting. There's lots of good stuff coming, actually. I've got all sorts of problems at the moment. My car, I've got all sorts of problems with the Porker. I've got a rock in the wheel, like a rock in the tyre. Like, how you get punctures from metal, but I've got a rock poking through my tyre, and I have no money till for at least another 7 or 8 days to fix it. So I'm going to, yeah, I took it to the tyre shop, but it can't be plugged. It's like a massive rock. How it's gone through the tyre, I don't know. So I went through my drawer of stuff, and I've got cheap old Chinese Temu glue. Temu glue. Stick it in tyre. It serve you. So I'm going to just like fill the hole where all this air is pumping out, so I can pump the tyre up and I get about an hour out of it. So I can take it for a drive, then pump it back up again. I'm going to fill it up with Temu glue. Temu glue will save you. And hopefully that'll be good. It needs to go back. Barnsport are going to do the service for us. And there's a slight weep on the oil scavenger seal, you know, the oil scavenger pump, where it's got 4 bolts in it, bolts in. There's a tiny little oil leak there. So hopefully they can just tighten that up and it will stop that. And hopefully they can just access that to do it. I don't want to touch it. I could do it here, try and do it here, but I don't want to mess around with it. So just they're the experts, so just give them to that. And then they'll do the oil service on it as well. Yeah, I've got a load of other things that I've got to do as well. So it's a bit busy at the moment, but it's all good. Take care. Don't forget to subscribe and follow me on Instagram as well. That's good. We'll try and do some more stuff on Instagram. Over and out. Do.